Prince of the Universe here with another Greg Blackson report, or the Dom Rogan experience, if you so choose. UFC 283 recap. We got to start off with Ismail and Gabriel Bonfim. Everybody sleep on them. You know your boy, almost everybody in the UFC I watched long before they came to the UFC. Dom Rogan. That's where that come from. The analytical skills above all, Greg Blackson, that's where that come from. I was watching both of these brothers before they got to the UFC, and I was telling people, nobody was listening, they was sleeping on it. You know what I mean? You got two dudes from a boxing background, like one of the rarest backgrounds if you look at overall fighters in MMA, and then they work their jiu-jitsu after that and the wrestling after that. They don't have a weak area, which is rare. When you analyze and break down fighters one by one, it's very rare that a person pans out in every area where they're like strong in each or very strong in one, strong in each. These guys are like great boxers, good jiu-jitsu, and the wrestling is pretty good too. And then the ring generalship, the cardio, everything is there for both of them. I have both of them winning. You know, you've seen with Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney reminds me of a young amateur kid that I train. He has the physicality, he has the height, he has the size, he has the power, but areas like cardio, ring generalship, the very basics are lacking. And it's just like and then the confidence is borderline cockiness. And it really reminds me of one of my students. And like I tell my student, I'm like, when you get to the people that are athletic like you, even if they aren't as athletic, and they have the fundamentals down, especially when it's a strong area like they have in the boxing, I was like, you know, it's gonna pass up your athleticism. And that's what I felt like what happened with Terrence McKinney, which is why I had him losing that fight anyways. He was talking about the guy being the decision machine, and the guy isn't. He's predominantly finishes, and it just seemed like he really didn't do his research. And it's 50% on the coaches to clean up these areas of a fighter that are flawed, and 50% the fighter got to be honest with himself, which most fighters aren't, to address it. And it doesn't seem like it's happening on either end. You know, as a black man, I like to see a young black kid come up, but I hope he address those issues, be honest with himself, get it together, because, you know, Jamal Hill is a person that don't really do the fundamentals altogether, which makes it hard, the timing and stuff, but he knows them enough to make it work, where McKinney seems behind, like they just aren't there, and too many things just look athletically based, and there's the outcome. Same thing with the Dober fight. With his brother fighting, I knew he was going to win, because it was just like, I was like, man, he's fighting the guy, he just seems to have more areas than the guy. And then it's a good kickboxer versus a good boxer, but he has enough. I felt like he knows enough kickboxing, but the guy doesn't really know enough boxing. And then it's the speed, and he's just like the other brother, but a little bit better. And I was like, man, I don't think and boom, just choked him out. You know, watch both of those guys. I think they're going to make a lot of noise, and we're going to talk about the next fight. Next up, I want to talk about Jilton Almeida, Shamil Abdurakhimov, Jilton, the Brazilian Habib. That's how I found out about that guy. I kept reading about him on the internet, started watching his fights, was excited for him to get signed to the UFC, cheering him on, you know what I mean? Love it. Love. He's living up to the name. You know, dude gave up, 30 pounds? Ragdolled that guy around, chilled on top, you know. What can you do? What can you say? He's stronger than the people he fought at light heavy, stronger than the people he fought at heavy. Every fight's look the same. Takedown, position before submission, love it. And then beat him down, submit him, everything. And even the flashes of striking, he seems very competent. Dark horse, he needs to be talked about more, pushed. I want to see him with a tougher opponent next time. But that's all I got to say about that one. It wasn't as expected. Next fight I'm going to talk about Bruno Hulk, Fiera, Gregory Rodriguez, RoboCop. You know, I was very disappointed in this fight. You know, it started giving me like Johnny Hendricks, learning how to strike, PTSD, cost check. Matt Hughes learning how to strike, PTSD. And I absolutely hate it when I see a world-class high-level wrestler get decent at striking and stop wrestling, or a guy like Gregory Rodriguez with those jiu-jitsu credentials get good at striking, knocking people out, and get away from it. Because the only way I saw Vieira winning was by knockout. And the guy went in there, 9-0, with like 9 knockouts or 10-0, 10 knockouts. Why would you play that kind of game? And then on top of that, like RoboCop, he lives up to it. He's adorable like a damn robot, but he doesn't move his head at all. It was a disaster waiting to happen, and I was rooting for him too. You know, kudos to the other guy, but I felt like if he would have used the striking that he's learned to implement the takedowns to his jiu-jitsu, he could have made that an easy match as far as I'm concerned. But just striking with the head straight up like always, durability only goes so far, and you don't want to be durable with somebody, you know, like look how many robots the Hulk smashed in the Avengers movie. So it's like, it is what it is. Kudos to the other guy. Hope the mistakes are made with Gregory don't fall into that striking trap. And on to the next one. Next fight I'm talking about, Jessica Andrade, the little demon, the little miniature, little hellion versus Lauren Murphy. The only reason I want to talk about this one is I don't know what it is about the MMA culture, more so than the boxing culture, that they don't want to stop fights. But this was an example of a fight that should have been stopped. I didn't see any chance for that woman making a comeback in that fight. If you see that your fighter's really fighting back and that there's a chance to win, you know, you give that to them. When you just don't see it, you got to be a smart corner man. That woman is just having years taken off of her career and possibly her life. You know, come on, MMA guys. Let's make it happen. That's what I want to say there, and that's it. Next up to bat, Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny. I respect Neil Magny, fight anybody, anytime, anywhere mentality, but the fight went exactly as I expected. I don't like how he was talking about, like, I fucked around and found out what Khamzat Chimaev, and Gilbert Burns can wrestle his ass off as well. Underrated wrestling with better jiu-jitsu. And you don't think you would fuck around and find out there. I think sometimes, like, hubris, it betrays you. Like, he just got beat not long ago by the up-and-coming guy. I can't remember his name. On the ground. And it seems like when he gets put on the ground and stuff in these bad positions, same thing happens over and over. I feel he needs to step back and address those and select the fights he takes a little bit better, you know, and then he'll do better, because when he gets going, he gets going. But it's just positionally and on the ground, there's certain things missing, especially with guys at this level, the guys he's fighting. So, you know, calm down, take a step back, address the issues, then go fight those guys. Don't lose your ranking and your position because of it. That's how I feel about that one. Brandon Moreno, Davison Figueiredo. Let me just start by saying I love both of these guys. It was cool seeing somebody fight 4 times in the UFC for the first time ever. I'm not surprised that Moreno won, because the way I saw it, the only thing I was worried about with Moreno is the fact that he's always switching camps for whatever reason. But he has certain particular staple people that are always with him, which is good. And it seems like jumping around is his thing at this point. With Figueiredo, the thing I didn't like is, as I watched these guys fight, I rewatched their fights before this one. And, you know, first of all, I think the only people that can contend with him really in that weight class are each other, which is great. It's neat to see. But I felt like Brandon adjusted to Figueiredo more than Figueiredo adjusted to Brandon. And that's why he was the one that got the finish in one of the fights. But in the second fight. But then I felt like going to Henry Cejudo and everything and watching the third fight, I felt like Figueiredo made adjustments to Brandon better. And that's how I feel he got that. And when he went back home, I was like, I don't like that switching up too fast, even before the fight. And then to me, it seems like it played out. I feel like if he had Cejudo, it would have been more adjustments made, but it just seemed like Brandon was fully adapted to him and to what he did last time, and he couldn't adapt to where Brandon was this time or him at all. And it's like he's the harder puncher, but he tries to counter punch a guy that punches in combinations and faster than him. So I don't like that aspect of it, especially when he throws 1 and 2 and Figueiredo is throwing like, or Moreno's throwing 3, 4, 5. So I never liked that even in previous fights. In the third fight, I think that worked when he was with Cejudo, was leg kicks and all that. He wasn't kicking this time. He can wrestle. He tried a little bit, not enough for my liking. Why conversely, Moreno started mixing in the wrestling more, being very successful with that, showing another wrinkle to his game. And it was just like, then even though he's the harder hitter, Moreno is shown to have a chin, but can also hurt him back. So I felt like the whole thing, waiting to counter punch and going second and all that, and then not utilizing his full game, it didn't serve him right. And I always felt he was too big for 25. Happy to see he's going up to 35 now. I have no clue who I want Moreno to fight next, just like I don't know who I want to see Burns fight next. Like Masvidal maybe, or that guy needs to get in there and do something. But I don't know who Moreno should fight next, but kudos to the guy, and I'm excited to see Figueiredo at 35. Last but not least, we're going to cover the OG, my personal friend of damn near 2 decades, Glover Teixeira. You know, like versus Jamal, Sweet Dreams. Hell, 2 classy guys, 2 classy competitors. I was happy, you know, black man to black man, seeing Jamal Hill take it and love his Instagram. He's funny as hell, but at the same time hurt to see Glover. I would have rather had Glover doing it, being a personal friend. Plus, when he retired, it didn't surprise me. I knew it was the end of the road. Been a long time coming, even though that dude really could keep going. I'm happy that he retired, but I felt like it would have been great to see him in with a belt. Well, I felt like shortly after Jamal would get it anyways. He's young and have time. But nonetheless, excellent performance by Jamal Hill. I like seeing chaos mixed with some technique. You know, as I explained to the fighters that I train, there's an old term they say at King's Boxing at Mayweather's gym, like you brawl the boxer, box the brawler. You know, so I feel like Jamal is a little bit of both. He has some of the technique, but a little bit of the chaos, like a brawler as well. That's what makes him a tough combination to deal with. Plus, he's a switch hitter. Surprising takedown defense, even though I felt like a lot of those takedowns Glover didn't really go for. Pretty good positional awareness, very good positional awareness on the ground, but at the same time, I feel like as good as Glover is on top, there's some errors that he makes, like I felt like he made in the Yuri Prohaska fight, and as well where he loses positions that are very surprising to see him lose. Generally not when he's fresh, when he's tired. These mistakes come out. So it was crazy to see it happen all over again and lead to another loss, because he should have won that fight once he got Mount in the 5th round. I felt like Glover could have used the jab more. He hit the jab every time. Jamal doesn't move his head much. Hope he starts to work on that. For other guys in the division, I want to see him keep the belt a long time. And Glover hurt him with the leg kicks and abandoned that, as well as blocking the high kick, getting hurt multiple times with one hand, which I felt like he would know the cross block, working with Piera and everything like that, and go for the kicks more, working with Piera. I feel like with Glover, some of those things like the using the jab more and the blocking the high kick and the low kicks might have come into play more with Hackelman as the main corner. And I feel like it was too many hands in the pot. That's personally how I feel, because it was adjustments that could have been made. I saw it from the outside. that were not made. And when I saw Hackman wanted to stop the fight, the others didn't. I was like, too many hands in the pot. You need somebody like really with a definitive game plan. And I feel like nobody been coaching longer than OG Hack out of those guys. Shout out to my friend, another personal friend, Chuck Liddell, you know, another John Hackleman guy. But I was sad to see him go. Happy for Jamal. Jamal's cardio, he did answer those questions as well. Sick cardio, late notice. Excited to see. I don't know who he's going to fight next. Who is he going to fight next? Who is he going to fight next? Like, does he fight one of the people that have to draw or what? Whatever. I'm excited to see it. And that is the recap. Make sure you subscribe, turn on notifications. Grinder Games has his own channel. Go look it up and subscribe to him. Don't hate. And go in the comments. It's pinned there. Project One for All, a nonprofit. We helping animals and people out here around the world. Become a patron. Give back. Even $5 a month help. You know what I mean? We out here doing it. But see you guys next time. Greg Blackson Report is over.